Hello. Here we go. Linda, how are you? Hello, Melissa.
Hello, my Wi-Fi is crazy tonight.
I have had some difficulty getting in here. I don't know why. And is that Marianne on with the Tom name, or is that actually Tom? Here we go. Okay, I think I've got it set. So hang on one second here. I'll be with you in just a moment. Here we go. I'm so glad to see all of your happy faces. I actually was in. Hey, Peggy. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I was actually in another meeting room and I've been waiting, and I apologize for that delay. So, okay, guys, so let's see who we've got going on here. We've got our chat open. Oh, great. Tom is there, but he's on the airplane. Oh, give our love to Lance Gordon, please, would you, Tom? We're very, very sorry for his loss, but I know that he is a survivor and he will overcome all of this hardship. So how cool is that? Okay, great. And we have Linda and Melissa. And Melissa, you said you've had some trouble with your internet, but you're doing okay now?
Yeah, I'm good now. I don't know. I just had trouble getting on. So I don't know.
That could have been me. So I apologize for that. And then I see, I'm sorry. And then I see a Galaxy S6. Who is that? They're dark now. Okay, they're going to be quiet. Okay. All right, guys. So let's get started. I apologize for the delay. I'm going to mute everybody, but I do hope that you all will participate as we get through the point. Oh, okay. Hang on one second. Okay. Sorry about that. Miriam was helping me. She's getting into another thing that she's participating in. Okay, guys, so let's get started. We are in chapter 7 of Eric Worre's Go Pro, which is skill number 4, following up with your prospects. And could the timing be any better for what we have going on right now? Oh my gosh, if you haven't had a chance to watch the Zoom from Tuesday, we learned from Adrian and Marinko and Tom and Denise all about Trello and our new ability to follow up with style. And we're going to be working together. So it's going to be another transparency thing for us. And it's going to be a growth process. And there's going to be some pains as we go through it. But we're all going to be so much better because we need something that is going to help us to be able to follow up better on all of those people that we've accumulated through our 2 coffee shop interviews and 1 3-way a day through the process of 65 and a wake up. So I am really, really excited about that. So Eric Worre starts out by talking about an MLM. They say fortune is in the follow-up. Hey, Helen, glad to have you here. And fortune is definitely in the follow-up. And it's true because the problem is most people in network marketing don't follow up at all, at least not as they should as professionals. And so concept number 1 is we need to follow up, or actually follow up is doing what you said you would do. And that's very important. It is a matter of integrity that we need to be able to do the things that we say we're going to do. So excited about Trello. Use it when I bought my condo. It's awesome. Very cool. Helen, the what? Yes. So if you say you're going to call at a specific time, then do it. Run your business through a physical or electronic calendar. I couldn't go through my day without my calendar on my phone. I live by that, and it's really great if you start out your life putting every single thing on a calendar that is possible. And it gets kind of silly, but you want to make sure that you realize all the available time that you have in order to use it to your best benefit. Hang on one second here. Okay, terrific. And I'm telling you, from the time that you get up you take a shower, you eat your breakfast, you go through your normal routine, whether you need to go to work, all those things you need to plug in. And then I want you to be able to see your spare time. And this is how you're going to be able to maximize your business. It's the amount of time that you put into it that you're going to get out of it. Helen says, yes, she absolutely agrees. We must do what we say we will do. Calendar blocking helps too. Definitely. So be the person who does what they say they're going to do. People will respect that. Again, it is a matter of integrity. And it's really neat. Hey, Colleen, he tells us a story about his father when he was working in the real estate industry. And he witnessed this experience where a gentleman who came in for an appointment was expecting to meet his father at 10 o'clock. And it was 9:55 when he showed up for the meeting. And at 10 o'clock sharp, the gentleman got up and said, it's 10 o'clock. He's not here. Have him call me if he wants to reschedule. Wow. I mean, seriously, I've seen people do this in doctor's offices. It's really kind of interesting to see when people use this dynamic, because I've heard people in a doctor's office say, my appointment was at 10 o'clock and it is now 10:30. I chart, my time is worth this much an hour. And so once we go past that period of time, then I guess that's the amount that I'm going to be taking off your bill. So think about that kind of a concept, that there are people that the time is very important. Circles, as we learned about in Dallas, we're much freer spirits. We kind of say, well, I'll be there at 10 o'clock, and 10 o'clock means 10-ish. Well, you have to stop thinking from your perspective and start thinking about the perception of your prospect. And what the gentleman said to Eric was, either you're early or you are late. He's late and my time is valuable. So I'd like to open this up for some questions. If you would unmute yourself, or if you'd like to share something about an experience you may have had about a time issue. Has it been a challenge for you? Is it something easy? Let's talk a little bit about that for a minute. Anyone? Anyone?
Hey, Pamela, this is Linda.
Hey, Linda. Thanks for jumping in.
I have found that since I had an accident, that everything takes longer than I anticipated. And being home all day now and things taking different timing than I expect, I just kind of lose my days. And I just am really frustrated with that.
I understand that. So what do you do to overcome that shortcoming in yourself? What do you have to do to account for that difference in time ability, Linda?
Well, I haven't quite figured that out yet, because some days my hands work and some days they don't. On some days I'm having memory issues and some days I don't. So it's just been a challenge.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. And sometimes that is a great way to, when you're dealing with someone, is if you're straightforward and upfront with them, if you're getting to know someone on a deeper level and you're creating relationship, it's okay to say, please forgive me in advance if, right? We're being real with each other here. So if you're open about that. Now, if you had said a specific time, but then were way off and missed the time frame, and they didn't know that about you, that might have been a difficulty. So if you share it with them and say, I'm going to be there at 10 o'clock, but I've run into a couple things that are causing me some issues right now. If I'm a couple minutes late, I hope you'll understand. Most people are quite kind if you are straightforward and honest with them. And you say, gee, you know what? That's not a problem, Linda. I'll sit down, I'll get a cup of tea or whatever, and I will be happy to wait for you whenever it comes. It's that level of intimacy that you're creating, that you're showing them who you are and being real. And I do believe that people respect that. Do you think that might help you?
Yeah, I haven't been really late for anything because I've switched things around instead of getting up and doing devotions and then taking a shower and getting ready. It's a matter of getting up, taking a shower. And if that getting ready takes so long, I'm sorry to say that devotions have to go. You know, it's in order to get out the door on time, that's what I have to do. Yeah, I used to pride myself that it took only 45 minutes from the time I woke up to the time I walked out the door, showered and all. And now I get in the shower and I get out and I go, where did that 45 minutes go? And I'm still not dressed, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's also being kind to yourself and kind of giving yourself a little bit of a go and an understanding as you develop and grow yourself. So thank you, Linda, very much for sharing that. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's move on. And so what was interesting as a response when Eric Worre goes on to finish the story about his father and this gentleman, he said that his father was not habitually late. It just happened that this particular morning he had a little bit of an issue with it. And he did notice that over the years when he was getting together for this particular gentleman, he was always early. So what does that tell you? That we need to know the person on the other side of the table. We need to have an understanding of what their expectations are. And, you know, when we went through with Connie Podesta and learned about the different shapes that we can be and understanding how the other person's perspective might be, we need to be considerate of that and plan accordingly. So people, the lesson of the story is that people respect a person who does what they say they're going to do. If you say you're going to follow up at a specific time or in a specific way, either do it or reschedule well ahead of your appointment. So concept 2, the only reason to have an exposure is to set up the next exposure. And this takes some finesse because I think this is where a lot of the fortune in the follow-up kind of goes down the drain, right? It's that forgetting to reach the point of setting that next appointment. It's kind of like playing tennis. You're volleying the ball back and forth across the net. And if you stop that volley, the game is over. You've lost a point, right? And so you want to keep the volley happening. It's the same with any type of communication. If you end the communication at any point, the conversation is over. And so you need to think of it that way. Keep the ball rolling. Keep everything going forward. So the truth is, if you finish each exposure by setting up the next one, the prospect will eventually become educated on the opportunity and make an informed decision. And we're going to kind of talk about this as we go forward about the number of exposures that a prospect will need as we go through this. So you're keeping the process alive by setting up the next follow-up exposure, then the next and the next until they make a decision. So you never stop. You're going to say, hey, we've got this, and you'll provide them information so they can make a better educated choice. And then when you end the conversation, you say, okay, this is when we'll next connect, right? So we've talked earlier about how to professionally invite your prospect to take a look at what you have to offer. At the end of that process, we went through several steps to set up the next exposure, meaning your follow-up call, and that was your next appointment. So when you make the call, you're going to ask them if they reviewed the material. You're not going to start throwing up on them about how wonderful your company is, how wonderful your product is. You are going to ask them, did they have a chance to review the material? And they're going to either say, no, I didn't, or yes, I did. Okay. And so now what we need to figure out is what we do next. If they say no, they didn't have a chance, then you're not going to say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that. How could you not? You promised me. You know, you're not going to show displeasure at their lack of follow through. You're going to say, that's okay. I understand sometimes life gets busy. When do you think you could do it for sure? For sure, right? And so for sure. And when you put that in there, you think it's a little much, but the truth is he's been using this. Eric Worre, has been using this for decades, and he does so because it actually works. In any case, whatever language you use, but set up the next time and walk through the same step because they're going to get it. The next time when you call them up, you're going to say, did you review the material, right? So they're knowing now, they're creatures of habit, they're being taught, and you're coming to them again and saying, the last time we talked, did you have a chance to review the material, right? So once you have it, including the date and time of the next call, the next exposure, hang up and call them when you said you would. If you call them at the scheduled time and they still haven't reviewed the material, just repeat the process until they do. They are setting the appointment, and you are being the professional by following up like you said you would. If you call your prospect and they say yes, yay, ask them a few intelligent questions, okay? You're not going to ask, so what did you think? Okay, because this is going to invite the critical part of the prospect's mind to come up with objections to try to sound smart. Okay, so the best way you can follow up is, what did you like best, right? And it's going to take you to a positive direction and give you clues as to the level of their interest. If they say the product, then the next exposure will be product related. If they say financial freedom, the next exposure will be opportunity related. Another good question you might ask is, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being zero interest and 10 being ready to get started right away, where are you right now? Okay, anything over a 1 is good, okay, because it tells you that they do have some interest. No matter what number they give you, all you're going to ask them is, how can you help them to get to a higher number? Okay. And usually that answer is going to go along with the lines of how they answered, what did you like best? If the answer is very positive and the number is fairly high, you can go directly to the closing process, and that's going to be covered in our next skill set. But if it isn't an obvious green light, then you'll just schedule what? The next exposure, right? We're going to go on to the next one. So if they want to try the product, you're going to help them do that and set up a follow-up date. You're going to call them and check on the experience, again, the next exposure. They might want to understand the compensation plan. So you're going to set up a time to get together and review it, the next exposure. And they might want to talk to their spouse. So you send them home with materials that they can share with their spouse and set up a date and time when you'll follow up, the next exposure, right? And you never finish one exposure without setting up the next one. Never. Because if you do, the game is over, right? And he said that that's what used to happen to him at the beginning. He would have someone look at the opportunity. When they'd done that, they'd say, he would say, so what do you think? They'd mumble something like, I'll let you know, or I'll get back to you, or I need to think about it. And poof, they were gone. Is that familiar to anybody? Right? I've had that. I have had that experience, and that's not comfortable, because then it's over, right? When he would try to call them back, he was just bothering them, and it felt very uncomfortable, right? That's a very familiar feeling. Once he changed to never finishing one exposure before setting up the next one, everything changed for the better. He was now becoming a professional, and he was in control. The prospect had more respect for him and for the opportunity, and all of this happened from just one small change in mindset. So now we're on to concept 3. It takes an average of 4 to 6 exposures for the average person to join. I would add in that it actually takes 5 to 12. Again, if these are averages, just like we talk about 65 and a wake up is the average time that it takes for people to create a new habit. It's going to take anywhere from 4 to 6 or 5 to 12. When people don't understand that the only reason for an exposure is to set up the next exposure, they put too much pressure on their prospects and on themselves, right? And, there's this culture of some will, some won't, so what next? Who's heard that before, right? And so it's a matter of volume, but it's going about it in the wrong way, because it is basically telling people that they are unimportant. And that's the wrong place to be. Okay. Our goal is education and understanding. We're going to take them from exposure to exposure to exposure, knowing it's going to eventually sink in. We're going to build a stronger relationship with them, strengthen the friendship, build trust, And people enjoy working with people they like, right? That's the great thing about network marketing. We get to choose who we work with, right? As opposed to a regular job where we're kind of stuck with the people that we're stuck with. And so this is a very important thing. These people are determining if they want to work with us, just like we determine if we want to work with them. And so we need to be respectful. And by acting in a professional manner, we're going to see different things happen in the way that people respond to us. And you want to keep your urgency, but you need to have patience. And so doing our coffee shop interview properly, and by working with people and being more interested in what they are about rather than be interesting yourself, is going to help you with that patience level, because it's going to be about them instead of about ourselves. So concept number 4 is condense the exposures for better results. And he goes into the 3 different types of people: posers, prospect someone once and move on. Boom. It's like ready, next, they're ready to go. Amateurs prospect someone through several exposures over time, but professionals condense those exposures into the shortest time possible. This is interesting, and this becomes a matter of balance, especially with our coffee shop interview and the 65 and a wake up ideal. So we learn how to create this level of finesse and balance. People are busy and they're constantly distracted by life. When you're approaching them to take a look at something new, it's important to keep their interest. The best way to do that is to stack the exposures as close together as possible, right? If you go slow, you might have them start by checking out a video, and a few weeks later have them listen to a conference call, then a month later have them attend a webinar, then after another month invite them to a 3-way phone call. This is difficult because each exposure, they tend to get distracted by life. It can almost be like starting over every time. This really struck me. And so again, it's about creating balance in ourselves to be adept at being an interested person in the people that we are talking to, but also keeping in mind that people's attention spans are short. And if you spread out the contacts too far, then they're going to lose some of what you have shared with them. And remember, we're educating and helping them to understand, as are we understanding about them. But sometimes it's like starting all over. So as we go through and we follow up, create very specific periods of time so that you can get this managed in a healthy time frame that will be comfortable for them, but productive for you. I hope that makes sense, right? If you have them check out a video, join a conference call, try the product, get on a webinar, and participate in a 3-way call, then come to a live meeting or whatever combination of exposures you use, do it all in 1 week. You give them the opportunity to really think about how this could change their lives. I think this would be more appropriate for an opportunity person, right, Linda? Yes, it is an aha moment. For a person who's dealing with the opportunity. If it's a product-based person, I think there's a much different approach that you would use for timing. There's not so much of a sense of urgency in that regard, other than we want to get them well as quickly as possible. I loved how Tom was this morning on the Hair on Fire call, as well as our 1-star and above executive call. If there's one thing that matters most, is all of you need to be taking the supplements that we have, because they are the best that are available, and they can mean the matter of life and death. And Lance had posted such a beautiful response that his wife's doctors had said that she did not need to take any supplementation, that she was healthy, and he, being just a CPA, was telling her something different. And unfortunately, she listened to her doctors. And that's heartbreaking, but it can be something for us to share and go forward. And it goes exactly in alignment with what Doc Wallach talks to us about. Dead doctors don't lie, right? these doctors who die at an average rate of 57 years old. That's scary. That's so young. And now we think about a person who was recommended not to take our products. It just really is so sad. No matter what vertical you love, take your minerals and vitamins no matter what. Do not die on me. No, and you either. We love you too much. And we're so thankful that we have such a wonderful family here. And Lance echoed that as well, that we truly do have a family that cares. The business is great, but we're here to love and help each other. So, okay, so now we're going to talk about questions and objections, right? A lot of time your prospect will just be bringing them up to sound intelligent. They want to think they have an idea of what to discuss. So how you respond is extremely important. If you act defensive, you'll plant a seed of doubt in their mind. If you act offensive, you'll chase them away. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that. Let's think about what would be a defensive response and what would be an offensive one. Can anybody kind of share what your ideas are of what a defensive response would be and or an offensive one? What do you think? Think about dealing with the prospect, and the prospect says to you, okay, let's see. Someone says, I don't need more vitamins. I already take vitamins. What would be a defensive or an offensive response to that? What do you think? Well, you're going to die, right? Yes, right? Yeah. Well, if you don't listen to that, and if you said that to somebody, they're not going to be happy with you. Well, you're going to die. Oh, okay. Well, they could turn around and say to you, well, you're going to die too. It's just a matter of timing, right? Would defensive be network marketing is a scam? Well, that could be that's something Linda brought up. That is an objection. It's not. I'm talking about how we respond. Tom says he can't unmute. They would kick me off the plane. That would be offensive. Yes, he would be offending the people on the plane if he unmuted and started to talk about everyone's going to die. I think they're going to tackle Tom in the aisle. That would not be cool. So sorry about that. Okay, so a defensive remark would be like, you don't know what you're talking about. Or if we'll go into a couple of examples here that Eric brings up. So being defensive is creating an argument in response. Being offensive is still the same. You're still arguing with someone, but it's from a different capacity. So let's go forward and see what he says. Remember, our goal is not winning an argument. Our job is to help blind people see. I love that. Helping blind people see. They don't know. They don't know that the only nutrients that are put into fruits and vegetables are 3 NPK, nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, are the only 3 that are required to be put into the soil by a farmer. And the truth is there's 57 more that we need. If it's not being put into the soil, it's not getting into the fruit and veggies. So you can eat 1,000 fruit and veggies every day and still be deficient. Okay? Now, if you said that to somebody, okay, we know that that's true. But if you said that to somebody as a response, they're going to start to get all freaked out, right? And we need to let Doc do the talking, be the messenger, not the message. These are things that we know, but we need to use the right tools to provide the information so that we don't become either defensive or offensive. Does that make sense? Is that an easy way for you to help understand it? Is that we need to just be like, well, I can understand. Let's see. Yes, Peggy gets that. Yes, thank you, Peggy. Okay, so when someone brings up a negative question or they offer you an objection, all they're really doing is help you identify one of their blind spots. Wow, they're telling you what their question is by their response. That's huge. Think of it as a positive thing. Every time anybody says anything to you, I want you to use this as a positive reaction, okay? And it will assist your prospects in eliminating them. This is what you need to do, right? Objections will fall into one of two categories, according to Eric Worre. It's either the prospect's limiting belief in their abilities or limiting beliefs in network marketing. Those are two. There's only two. Holy cow. Doesn't that make it a lot simpler, right? Because I've seen and been trained on all ways to respond to objections. But the truth is, there's only two. All right? And this is as far as their success level in network marketing. For both, you need to use empathy. You need to relate to people. Let them know that you are just like they are, right? You have the same doubts, the same questions, the same fears, but you overcame them, right? Your story and the story of others will do more for you in overcoming objections than anything else. And there's a great tactic, and I love this. Feel, felt, found. I know how you feel. I felt the same way, but here's what I found, right? Feel, felt, found. Yes, thank you, Peggy. So when you do that, you're helping to agree with them. You're not being defensive or offensive. You're not attacking them in any way. You're saying, hey, you know what? You're right. I get it. I know exactly what you're thinking. Exactly, right? So when prospects have a limiting belief in their abilities, let's talk about the two different ones, right? Common objections that they'll bring up are, I don't have the money. I don't have the time. This isn't my thing. I'm not a salesperson. I don't know anyone, or I'm too old, too young, or have no experience. I've heard every single one, right? And Colleen is nodding yes. So she has two, right? Okay. So there are like all kinds of fancy approaches that you can use. Well, you don't have it. Do you have a cable bill? Do you have a cell phone? I mean, all these very objectionable things that people will respond. Come on, wake up. And that's just rude, right? We don't want to be rude to people. We can say, oh, okay, so you don't have the time? You know, how long do you want to have that reality in your life? You have to change if you want your life to change. How does it feel when you hear any of that? It grates on my nerves, right? It makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel like I'm stupid, that I don't know anything about my life, handling my circumstances. But a better way to do it is to relate to the person and tell your story. So if it's a money issue, you can say, I had the same exact challenge. I didn't have enough money to pay my bills, let alone start a new business. But when I thought about it, I realized if I didn't have enough money to pay my bills now, how was I going to change that in the future? I was tired of being behind. I was tired of always scrambling. I wanted more out of life. So you know what I did? I found a way. And it was the best decision I ever made. So let me ask you something. If you really felt this was a chance for you to take control of your financial future, do you think you could find a way to make it happen? Right? 9 times out of 10, they would agree that they could find a way. Did you notice the way, the intonation in my voice, the way I talked to that particular person? It's often how you say things, not just what you say. So if you say things in a loving manner, but create a comfortable, empathetic response to whatever their issue is and love them where they are, then you can help them to make a better decision, right? And again, forget the exact words and focus on the concept, okay? So what he did in this example, Eric told the people that he was the same as they were with the same objection, told them about his pain, told them how he found a way to solve it, and as a result, they bonded. They became friends, right? Okay. We related to each other. We were in the same boat with the same hopes and dreams. Okay. And here's another thing to keep in mind. If you don't have a personal story, you can borrow a story from someone else, and you can respond and say, I know what you mean. I have a friend who had the exact same problem, and let me tell you their story, right? Or you can set up a 3-way call and let the person tell the story for themselves, right? Okay. So you want to be able to find a way to relate. And that's also why it's so terrific as we go through, excuse me, in our follow-up Trello app, that we're going to have this ability to connect with each other. And Colleen had brought that to my attention last week or a few days ago, where we were talking about how she wished that she had a list of everybody's strengths and what they specialized in, so that she would know exactly who to use and how to do it, and even to have something along the lines of an edification list of how we would know the information about that particular person so that we can properly edify them during a 3-way call. Right, Colleen? Yeah. So I think that that's something that's important to keep in mind as well in this process. So, okay. So when people have limiting beliefs about network marketing, these are all fun, right? Is this MLM? Is this one of those things? Is this a pyramid scheme? I'm not interested in MLM. I don't want to bother my friends. And how much are you making? Right? These are all very common things. And a lot of times I have heard people on my team say they'll do it once they see how much I'm making, or they'll do it once they see how well this is, or whatever. Okay. Get over that. We can't be perfect. We can't wait and wish for tomorrow. We have to just do and be, and the right people will come into our paths. And we found this in 65 and a Wake Up, that where we thought in the beginning 2 a day and 2 CSIs a day and 1 3-way was going to be insurmountable. And then all of a sudden it became a truth that people were coming to us, right? All of you who participate in 65 and a Wake Up know, hello, Pat, that we have people coming to us instead of us chasing people down. And that's a beautiful thing, right? So we're going to start out with the one that strikes fear into the hearts of most people in our profession. Is this an MLM, or is this one of those things, or is this a pyramid scheme, or I'm not interested in MLM? So some people will go crazy, right? And then they get that defensive or offensive stance, right? And they say pyramid scheme, like every corporation in the world, like government, you mean like that? I've heard it and I've said it, right? Okay, so we don't need to be there. Instead of going crazy on your prospects, it's important to understand where the question comes from, okay? Truthfully, and I actually just participated in an Eric Worre free webinar a few days ago, and he has them all the time. So if you follow him on Facebook and receive his emails, you'll get updates of when he does these recurring webinars. And so he'll provide so much great insight. But on that particular one, he was talking about that the experience of when you talk with somebody, they usually knew somebody who joined with no success, or else it has happened to them. They've done it themselves, right? So he talked about earlier in this book about thinking that you're buying a virtual lottery ticket, right? People think that if I just had this one person, my whole life would change, right? Remember, we talked about that, and that it didn't pay off and they gave up, right? So this is a very common scenario that is represented by 90% of the people who will ask this particular question. The rest of them have just heard about opportunities like this and are skeptical of the promise of getting rich quick. So if they ask this kind of question with an emotion, okay, like when they get angry, okay, whenever there's emotion tied to an answer, there's something big going on. And then Eric has this great response, and he did it so eloquently. And he said, wait a minute, wait a minute. You have a story. What happened? Were you involved in network marketing at some point? and let them tell the story. It opens them up, lowers their defenses, and allows you to ask some questions about their experience. So, for example, he's going through the presentation or invitation process, and the prospect says, wait a minute, is this MLM? And they say it with emotion, like, oh, are you kidding me? Is this MLM? Or, oh, is this MLM? You know, any of those emotions. You can see anger, fear, all these things come up. And when he sees that, he'll say, oh, you have a story. Did you try it out at some point? What happened? And they'll say, yeah, you know what? I joined a company a few years ago. I bought some product and lost my money. And then he would say, what did you think was the reason you didn't have success? And then they might say, well, my friend talked me into it. I didn't have a lot of time and I thought more people would join right away, but they didn't. I guess I just lost interest. And then Eric would say, do you think you really gave it a fair shot? And they would say, no, not really. And he'd say, well, do you think network marketing was the problem, or do you think maybe the timing just wasn't right for you? And they often will say, well, it probably was the timing. Okay, so there's a shift in the dynamic of this particular interaction. And that is very important because you are lending credence to their concern. You are not trying to be defensive or offensive and respond back rudely. You are truthfully being caring toward their concern or issue, right? So if you ask questions and are friendly through the process, you have a strong opportunity to help them get rid of their blind spot and take a look at what you have to offer, right? So like horses, if you see horses, they have those blinders on, and they do that to protect them, right? To keep them on their path, because if you realize that you've taken away your peripheral vision, it's going to keep you focused on the point ahead. But sometimes people are so focused on something negative, they can't see the forest for the trees, right? They have no idea. There's so many trees in their way, they can't even see that there's this beautiful forest. And so when you take the blinders off, and now they have this whole different perspective, that they can now have a better understanding and learn and grow and be the successful person they had wanted to be before, right? So you can relate to them by saying you had the same objection initially and telling them how you overcame it. Okay, so let's talk about the beloved pyramid scheme, right? And when someone brings that up, he does such a great job. I've never used this particular response, but I will now. I always say, oh no, pyramid schemes are illegal and I would never be involved in something illegal. Wow, that's boom, done. Like that's it. No, there's no question there, right? Then you have people asking without the emotion attached. He would respond, yes, this is network marketing. Do you know anything about it? And again, he's asking questions and waiting for the answers to come back. From the answers, ask more questions, and through the process, achieve the goal of education and understanding. Then we've got the response, I don't want to bother my friends, right? And then you can come back and say, well, what makes you think you'd be bothering your friends? Or if you truly believed in the product, would you let your friends know about it? And if I could show you how we share the product with others without it feeling or sounding like a sales pitch, would that help you? Right? So you're helping to overcome what's behind their question, right? And the last category is, how much are you making? And this is a toughie, right? Because first of all, we have to remember we're not allowed to make income claims. So you can't say because of, I'm making this, that this is how much somebody else is going to make, where that's illegal for us to do that. But you can say things like, if you're a brand new person, you can tell them, well, I'm just getting started. If you've been around for a while but haven't been making the big money yet, you can tell them you're working part-time and are really excited about your future. And you can also say you're excited about your future with this company because you knew things weren't going to change if you didn't do something to change them, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, right? So the best place to affect the change is within yourself, right? So we need to do a change, because the world will change how they react to us when we exert a change in ourselves. So tell your story, and then tell stories of people you know who are making good money. You can even suggest setting up, again, remember the 3-way call with those people, so that they can feel more comfortable about the opportunity, right? Again, it all takes practice. And if you get these concepts down, you'll find it becomes easy. Remember, our goal is education and understanding. And so that is the end of chapter 7. And next week we'll cover skill number 5, which is helping your prospects become customers or distributors. So I'm going to unmute. Well, let's unmute everybody. Unmute yourselves individually if you have a question. Do you have a question or comment that you'd like to put in about today? You can type it, you can speak it, whatever you'd like to do. Right back at you, Tom. Love you bunches. Thank you.
Pamela, I just tell people when they say it's a pyramid scheme, and I just say, well, is it a pyramid scheme when you go to your grocery store and your grocer earns part of the income, and the truck driver earns part of the income, and the trucking company earns part, the wholesaler earns a part? It's everybody's earning a part until it gets to you, from the manufacturer to you. Why wouldn't you want to let your friend earn that money?
That's a great point, Linda. Thank you. And that's terrific. However, if you put it in the way that Eric Worre is talking about, then you want to put it in a way that's not going to put them on their guard. You want to put it in a way where you can say, let's think of an example. Is this a pyramid scheme? And say, well, what is your definition of a pyramid scheme? And they'll probably say something like, well, a pyramid scheme is where the person at the top makes all the money, and the people at the bottom get taken for a ride, and they lose their money and they never make a penny. Right? That's what's in their mind.
Yeah.
And then you say, well, you know what? That's really interesting, because first of all, pyramid schemes are called schemes because they are illegal. But the truth is, network marketing is the one place where everybody has an even playing field. We all have the same exact chances. And there are people who are below, quote unquote, below other people in a level, but are actually making more money than people that are above them because they're not working. And then, you could say, if I give you another example, would it help you to understand better about the differences in how network marketing functions as an opportunity versus some other type of traditional business? And make it a question, because you're asking permission. When you're asking them permission, it's a whole different perspective from their part. Because if you come back and you say, well, blah, 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 then that might put them on their heels and make them, more resistant. Okay, just a suggestion. So that according to what he's talking about in this.
Good point.
But thank you, Linda. Thank you. Peggy, thank you so much. I always enjoy the review of Eric's great work. Me too. I do too. This is such a great work for me to go through as well. Tom, even though I thought I knew it, and you made this flight fun. Oh, Tom, I am sorry. You make everything fun no matter where you go. So I'm sure there are people around you that are having a good old time. All right. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Yeah. Can you hear me? This is Pat.
Hey, Pat. Yes. Thank you.
Hey,
what you got?
Whenever I get to pyramid hit, I'd say, oh no. I said, it's so much better than that. I said, this is legal. And I just kind of leave it there. And then they go, well, what do you mean? I said, well, we're a publicly traded company, just like any other company that's legal. I said, we're on the stock exchange. You can buy stock. You can trade the stock. And I said, we just sell product. Pyramids sell stuff. or whatever. But I said, we sell product, and when the product moves, we make commissions just like any other sales organization, just like any other company. I said more than, I don't even say that much to them. I just say it is so much better because we are legal. And they always ask a question.
That was perfect and succinct, and I love it because it also created a little bit of levity. Did you guys hear that in his voice? It took away the anger or the offensiveness in your response. That was great, Pat, because you're like, oh, no, it's nothing like that. This is legal. And they go, wait, what are you talking about? That is terrific. I absolutely love that, Pat. So thank you. I will borrow that if you don't mind.
Yeah, just give me credit once and then it's yours.
There you go. Thank you so much. Great. Okay, anyone else? Melissa, thank you. Oh, thank you so much. You are so sweet. I appreciate you. And I'm glad it worked out that your internet was good, that you were able to come in and join us. Anybody else? We started a little bit late, and I think we're finishing a little bit early. If that's okay with you guys, I am okay with it. If you've gotten all that you need, love you so much. You guys have a blessed night, and we will reconvene next Thursday, same time. And again, skill 5, helping your prospects become customers or distributors. That's where the rubber hits the road, guys. We start creating volume and making some money. So you guys have a great week, and I look forward to speaking with you soon.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. I've unmuted everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Good night. God bless.
Good night.
But I told him, look, you need to get out of Manhattan for 2 days. Wrong zoo on a Thursday because it's free. And